Let me take you back to 4 days that made history. 2 hours filled with incredible music and dancing in the rain. To the weekend, The Who shared the stage with Jimi Hendrix and Janis Joplin. Let me invite you back to the Woodstock Music Festival and Arts Fair. Hello and welcome everyone to another video. So whenever I do a video about 60s or 70s history, the number one requested event for me to talk about is the Woodstock Festival. I was always a little shy to cover that festival because I feel like there was so much that goes into it. I read the book, I watched the documentary, I know a lot about the festival, but I was kind of a little afraid that this video would be overwhelming. So I really took my time and tried to write down the most interesting facts, not only about the musicians that were there, but also about the organization and why this festival was so groundbreaking and magnificent. And we still talk about it over 60 years later. So if you want to know about the biggest music festival in history, get yourself a drink, lean back, and let me take you back to the weekend in 1969 that changed the world. So the Woodstock Festival occurred in August 1969 in Bethel near New York City. The festival was originally conceived by Michael Lang, who sadly passed away just a couple of days ago. I did a full post about him on Instagram. This is my username if you want to follow me over there. I just quickly want to take a moment and talk about Michael Lang. He was such a significant and wonderful human being. He was the organizer of the Monterey Pop Festival, and he was the one who came up with the whole idea of the Woodstock Festival. He was so important, and his whole idea was to bring people together in the name of peace and music and make a change. And I think that is so wonderful, and now that he sadly passed away, I feel like this is something we should all internalize a little more and try to make this world a better place. So Michael Lang, alongside Joel Rosenman, Artie Kornfeld, and John P. Roberts, who were all promoters and entrepreneurs, were the organizers of the Woodstock Festival. They founded Woodstock Ventures and dreamt of a music festival somewhere near New York City. Basically, their idea was to host an event like the Monterey Pop Festival they hosted near San Francisco and take it over to the East Coast. If you want to know about the Monterey Pop Festival and why it was so significant, I'm gonna link a video right here that I already made about the Monterey Pop Festival if you want to watch that. They had a really hard time finding a venue for their festival because most communities rejected their offer. So back in the late 60s, hippies didn't really have the best reputation. And that is why most communities were afraid of the backlash they'd have to face if they would allow the festival to take place in their city. They were basically afraid of rock stars, drugs, and the noise of thousands celebrating music fans. After searching and searching, they were eventually introduced to Max Yazger, who was a dairy farmer, and offered them his land. Going against the locals of his community who weren't happy about this at all, Max Yazger allowed them to have the Woodstock Festival on his grounds near Bethel, New York. The concert was originally meant to go on for 3 days, starting on August 17th in 1969 and going on until August 19th. However, and I'm gonna talk about this a lot later, it didn't really go as planned. Tickets for the concerts were $18 in advance or $6 a day, or $24 if you bought them at the gate. And the tickets were sold in local record shops, and you could also order them by mail. More than 185,000 tickets were sold prior to the event, and Michael Lang and the organizers anticipated about 200,000 music fans showing up. Due to the fact that it took the organizers so long to find a fitting venue, they didn't really have the time needed to complete the facilities before concert goers started arriving. Since they had to focus on getting the stage ready for performers, they placed all their resources on building that instead of building much needed facilities. As a result, the fences and ticket booth were actually never finished. During Wednesday and Thursday, already thousands of people arrived, lining the streets with cars. There were hippies everywhere, singing and dancing in their campers, excited to see the festival. Since the organizers weren't expecting people to arrive so soon, or the large amount of people that were showing up, they were completely overwhelmed with what was happening. Since there weren't enough fences to mark the festival, nor enough ticket booths to sell entrance tickets, they had to let in a lot of people for free. As more and more people continued to arrive over the next few days, traffic became a big issue. People were forced to park miles away from the festival and walk the rest of the way. Traffic was reportedly so bad that people were stuck in their cars up to 8 hours, with traffic jams going as far as 17 miles. With the traffic being so intense days before the festival and some bad press, a lot of people who bought tickets actually decided not to attend the Woodstock Festival. And I honestly feel like if you had a ticket for the Woodstock Festival and you were planning on going and then you didn't go because of the traffic, this probably is one of the biggest regrets you have in your life. Like, imagine having the opportunity and being so close to see all of these incredible artists on stage, and then you kind of get scared off. So I bet these people are still really upset that they didn't end up going. Food and water resources quickly became a major issue as the crowd began to grow. Even with people being scared and not attending the festival, way more people showed up than were ever expected, which led to most of the food concession they had built up being used up prior to the festival even starting. Those attending were forced to eat whenever they could and they found something, and the people who brought food and water were sharing it with those in need. The grocery stores and restaurants in the small town of Bethel nearby quickly ran out of food as well. Volunteers from the community, as well as the hog farm, which was like a hippie community, started making thousands and thousands of sandwiches, which were flown over to the Woodstock Festival by helicopter and handed out to the people for free. Sanitation also really quickly became an issue. You might have seen these pictures of people dancing in the mud and rain on Woodstock, and a big part of that was the ongoing rain, but it was also because there just wasn't enough restrooms for the people that were attending. Many waited for hours in line to use the restrooms, while others just went wherever they could. A nearby pond, known as Philippa Pond, quickly became a popular spot for bathing. A factor that almost ruined the festival was the weather. Rain fell heavily through the entire event, which turned the grounds into seas of mud. The rain also wrecked the musical performances, resulting in long delays between every single act and also a lot of technical difficulties. Joe Cocker, for example, performed on 2 p.m. on Sunday, and the next act didn't take the stage until 6:30 due to technical difficulties because of the ongoing rain. With the heavy rainfall quickly flooding the stage, presenting the performers and promoters with the real possibility and fear of being electrocuted. The concert itself is nearly unrivaled when it comes to the biggest music festivals of all time, even topping Michael Lang's first festival, the Monterey Pop. Over the course of 4 days, 32 acts in total took the stage. Amongst those performing were some of the most legendary names in music. Arlo Guthrie, Ravi Shankar, and Joan Baez were just some of the famous names taking the stage that weekend in 1969. All three of them, alongside 9 other performers, performed on Friday. Saturday was supposed to feature Santana, The Grateful Dead, Creedence Clearwater Revival, Janis Joplin, Sly and the Family Stone, The Who, and Jefferson Airplane, amongst many other performers. However, due to the heavy rainfall and a lot of technical difficulties, The Who found themselves finishing their performance on Sunday morning at sunrise, being followed up by Jefferson Airplane taking the stage on Sunday morning at 8 a.m. Sunday's performers included Blood, Sweat and Tears, Crosby, Stills, Nash & Young, and Jimi Hendrix. Jimi Hendrix was supposed to close the festival on Sunday evening, but due to the weather, his performance started on Monday morning at 8:30 a.m. By then, the tired and wet crowd had dwindled down to about 30,000, with Jimi Hendrix still performing for 2 hours. The highlight of his performance clearly was his stunning rendition of his song, The Star-Spangled Banner, which since then has become one of the defining sounds of the decade. At its peak, it's been estimated that the crowd at Woodstock was as large as 450,000 music lovers. This crowd included an incredibly diverse group of people coming from a wide range of different backgrounds. Many were anti-war protesting hippies, while others were Vietnam War veterans, African American civil rights activists, gay and lesbian activists, anti-government protesters, as well as pro-government protesters, some supporting the legalization of different drugs, and others opposing the legalization, were all amongst the groups represented, while others simply came for the music. I think it is really important to talk about the fact that the group of people attending the festival was so incredibly diverse. It is sort of a miracle that nothing happened. There weren't really any violent fights. It was really a festival all about the music and the peace and having a great time all together. And I feel like that is probably what made the Woodstock Festival so legendary and wonderful. The fact that these people, from wherever they came from, were there for the music and just got the opportunity to live in this magical bubble of peace for 4 ongoing days. Unfortunately, there were 2 fatalities documented. One person who overdosed of insulin, while another young man who was sleeping under a tractor was run over by it. There were numerous minor injuries such as cut feet due to the fact that so many people were barefoot, colds or food poisoning. However, there were a large number of volunteering nurses who helped these people. There were also 2 births reported during the festival, which I think is so incredible. Just imagine being born at Woodstock. I feel like there isn't a more legendary weekend to be born on. After the festival had ended and the concert goers had departed, the grounds were an absolute disaster. Even with volunteers helping, it took several days and cost over $100,000 to clean up the site. Enormous amounts of garbage were bulldozed and burned. The concert promoters, Woodstock Venture, were sued by local farmers because their grounds got ruined by the large amount of people that attended the festival. Additionally, Woodstock Ventures had incurred $1.4 million in debt. The debt and the lawsuit settlements eventually paid off when the documentary Woodstock, which chronicles the legendary music festival, was a big hit and a box office success. For years, the town of Bethel tried to distance itself from the Woodstock Festival. The community in the state of New York even passed a law that prohibited large music festivals from happening to prevent a festival like Woodstock from happening again. Over time, though, the region started to embrace their Woodstock history by putting up a monument, a sign, and eventually even a museum. I honestly think the Woodstock Festival marks an era. A lot of people think that it kind of marked the end of the hippie movement, while others say it was the height of it. I personally think the biggest miracle of Woodstock was not all of these incredible acts, or the fact that it took place and the people stayed even though it was raining. For me, the magic of Woodstock is that in 4 days, with almost 500,000 people in a very tight space, no one got into a fight. There was such a spirit of peace back then that I really aspire to feel in modern society. I honestly think that what made Woodstock so incredibly legendary was the fact that all of these world acts, who weren't all friends, I mean, they were beating each other to be on top of the charts, but they all came together and played this festival. All of these people from all of these different backgrounds came together to celebrate love, life, and music. They came together for a little art fair. There are so many pictures of people at Woodstock just painting each other, painting on whatever was there, dancing together. There were kids, there were grown-ups, there were people taking drugs, dancing alongside people who were trying to ban them. But it seemed like that for 4 days, in August 1969, all differences didn't matter, because all that mattered was peace and music. I really hope you enjoyed this video about Woodstock. I tried to touch on as many topics as possible, but I'm sure I didn't cover everything. I'm gonna link the Woodstock documentary and a few books that I really enjoyed reading about this topic if you want to know more about it. If you attended the Woodstock Festival, or you know someone who did, or you just have any wonderful story to add to this video, please leave a comment down below. I read every single comment and I try to reply to as many as possible. I would love to hear your stories. If you enjoyed the video, I would love you to give it a thumbs up and maybe even share it with a friend. I put a lot of work and research into this video, and if you would share it and give it a like, it would truly mean the world. If you're interested in all things 60s and 70s, like the makeup, the fashion, the pop culture, everything that happened, make sure to subscribe to my channel because I upload new videos every single week all about that, and I would love to have you around. Make sure to leave a comment down below if there's any other historical event you would like me to talk about, or you have any further videos you would like to see me do. I hope you have a wonderful day. Go out, enjoy the sunshine, take yourself some time to focus on you and your mental health today, and I will catch you in the next one. Bye everyone!